Welcome to another terrific communications analysis. My name is Farouk and I'm a communications coach. The trade wars between Canada and America are heating up. We are going to be listening to the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's speech that he delivered on retaliatory taxes. Without further ado, let's jump right in.
Today, the United States informed us they will be imposing 25% tariffs on Canadian exports to the United States and 10% on Canadian energy. A decision that, should they elect to proceed with, should take effect on Tuesday, February 4th. Tonight, first, I want to speak directly to Americans.
By saying I want to speak directly to the Americans, what he's doing is, first of all, he'll be speaking to two different audiences, Canadians and the Americans. So he's identifying which one he's speaking to. And secondly, what this does is allows him to build a personal connection with the audience by saying that he wants to speak directly to them. It might seem like a simple, insignificant thing, but it's a good way to get your audience's attention and make them feel like you're talking to them directly, as he said.
Our closest friends and neighbors. This is a choice that, yes, will harm Canadians, but beyond that, it will have real consequences for you, the American people. As I have consistently said, tariffs against Canada will put your jobs at risk, potentially shutting down American auto assembly plants and other manufacturing facilities.
I like the framing here. He framed it such that Canada does not come across as the victim here, but rather it's the Americans that are shooting themselves in the foot by imposing these taxes. Human beings are essentially self-serving creatures. We mostly only care about what happens to us and how things impact us. By framing his speech this way, what he's doing is telling the American audience that this is a lose-lose situation for both Canadians and Americans.
It will impede your access to an affordable supply of vital goods crucial for U.S. security, such as nickel, potash, uranium, steel, and aluminum. They will violate the free trade agreement that the President and I, along with our Mexican partner, negotiated and signed. But it doesn't have to be this way.
By saying that things don't have to be this way, what Justin Trudeau is doing is actually using a persuasion strategy. It's called "but you are free to." And what this is it uses a little bit of reverse psychology by giving the other person that choice that they're free to do whatever they want. It actually makes them more likely to agree to your demands. And that's what he's presenting here. He's giving the Americans the choice that there's no pressure. You don't have to go through with this. We can always go back to not having a trade war like this.
As President John F. Kennedy said many years ago, geography has made us neighbors, history has made us friends, economics has made us partners, and necessity has made us allies.
That quote by John F. Kennedy is using a rhetorical device called mesodiplosis, where the words that repeat are in the middle of the element, not at the end or at the beginning. And if you listen to that quote again, he says, has made us. He repeats that, which is in the middle of the element 3 times.
That rang true for many decades prior to President Kennedy's time in office, and in the decades since. From the beaches of Normandy to the mountains of the Korean Peninsula, from the fields of Flanders to the streets of Kandahar, we have fought and died alongside you. During your darkest hours, during the Iranian hostage crisis, those 444 days we worked around the clock from our embassy to get your innocent compatriots home. During the summer of 2005, when Hurricane Katrina ravaged your great city of New Orleans, or mere weeks ago, when we sent water bombers to tackle the wildfires in California. During the day the world stood still, September 11th, 2001, when we provided refuge to stranded passengers and planes, we were always there, standing with you, grieving with you, the American people.
He's using a literary device called allusion here, where you're referencing events from the past which highlight cooperation between America and Canada. He's hoping that by using these references, he could build an emotional bond between the American audience and him as a speaker. This is also called pathos in persuasive speaking, where you're using emotions to build a connection with your audience.
We've built the most successful economic, military, and security partnership the world has ever seen. A relationship that has been the envy of the world. Yes, we've had our differences in the past, but we've always found a way to get past them. As I've said before, if President Trump wants to usher in a new golden age for the United States, the better path is to partner with Canada, not to punish us.
Better path is to partner with Canada, not to punish us. He's using antithesis. He's juxtaposing two contrary ideas. One is to work with us, and the other is to work against us.
Canada has critical minerals, reliable and affordable energy, stable democratic institutions, shared values, and the natural resources you need. Canada has the ingredients necessary to build a booming and secure partnership for the North American economy, and we stand at the ready.
Now what he's saying is that this will be a win-win for both Canada and America if they were to work together as opposed to have this trade war. This is a good persuasion technique to highlight the potential benefits that both countries could reap if they were to put their differences aside. He's also using the "but you are free" technique here by claiming that Canadians are always ready to work with the Americans, but the ball is in America's court, that they have to make a decision whether they want to work with the Canadians or not. And just by giving them that choice, this is a persuasion technique where they're more likely to accept his demands by framing it in this way where they have the choice.
Let's take a moment to talk about our shared border. Our border is already safe and secure, but there's always more work to do. Less than 1% of fentanyl, less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States come from Canada. But hearing concerns from both Canadians and Americans, including the American president himself, we're taking action. We launched a $1.3 billion border plan that is already showing results, because we too are devastated by the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that has torn apart communities and caused so much pain and torment for countless families across Canada, just like in the United States. A drug that we too want to see wiped from the face of this earth. A drug whose traffickers must be punished.
So now he's trying to build a common ground with the Americans by claiming that Canadians have the same issues that Americans are facing and that we should work together, and Canada has played their part in fighting this scourge of fentanyl, as he claims. He's using ethos here, or appeal to character, to gain the trust of the American audience.
As neighbors, we must work collaboratively to fix this. Unfortunately, the actions taken today by the White House split us apart.
That's clearly using antithesis, split us apart versus coming together.
I am announcing 25% tariffs on $155 billion of U.S. goods. As of Tuesday, $30 billion worth of U.S. products will be affected, and in 21 days, to allow Canadian companies the opportunity to find alternatives, this will be the case for $125 billion worth of products.
Our response will also be far-reaching and include everyday items such as American beer, wine, and bourbon, fruits and fruit juices, including orange juice, along with vegetables, perfume, clothing, and shoes. It'll include major consumer products like household appliances, furniture, and sports equipment, and materials like lumber and plastics, along with much, much more. And as part of our response, we are considering, with the provinces and territories, several non-tariff measures, including some relating to critical minerals, energy, procurement, and other partnerships. We will stand strong for Canada. We will stand strong to ensure our countries continue to be the best neighbors in the world.
This is called assertive communication, what he's showing here, where he's not trying to be overly aggressive because that would come across as him just caring about himself and being selfish. He's also not being passive because that would be perceived as being weak. He is taking a good middle ground by taking a balanced approach and not being too overly aggressive or passive. And that middle ground is called assertive communication.
With all that said, I also want to speak directly to Canadians in this moment.
He used that same sentence again where he's telling you directly who he's talking to. And again, this helps to identify who he's talking to and also builds a personal connection with them.
I'm sure many of you are anxious, but I want you to know we are all in this together. The Canadian government, Canadian businesses, Canadian organized labor, Canadian civil society, Canada's premiers, and tens of millions of Canadians from coast to coast to coast are aligned and united. This is Team Canada at its best.
The message here seems to be about unity and putting all of our differences aside, because this is a time when Canadians should be united.
And now is also the time to choose Canada. There are many ways for you to do your part. It might mean checking the labels at the supermarket and picking Canadian-made products. It might mean opting for Canadian rye over Kentucky bourbon, or foregoing Florida orange juice altogether. It might mean changing your summer vacation plans to stay here.
He's using an anaphora here where he used the words "it might mean" 3 times at the beginning of each element. This is a common rhetorical device that's used to create an effect for the audience.
Here in Canada and explore the many national and provincial parks, historical sites, and tourist destinations our great country has to offer.
It's time to choose Canadian products and to support our farmers, our producers, our workers, our business owners, our
It
artists.
might mean doing all of these things or finding your own way to stand up for Canada. In this moment, we must pull together because we love this country. We pride ourselves on braving the cold during the long winter months. We don't like to beat our chests, but we're always out there, waving the maple leaf loudly and proudly to celebrate an Olympic gold medal.
Now he's appealing to a sense of nationalism for all the Canadians out there. He even mentioned the Maple Leafs flag and other Canadian things like braving the winter. This is so that the people would heed his call to buy Canadian products as opposed to American products in the grocery stores and elsewhere, and do their part to support the Canadian economy in this during this time.
We have a distinct identity. We have our own history and our values. Canadians are welcoming, open, innovative, and ambitious. We prefer to solve our differences with diplomacy, but we're prepared to fight if it's required.
Bountiful resources, breathtaking beauty, and a proud people who've come from every corner of the globe to forge a nation with a unique identity worth embracing and celebrating. We don't pretend to be perfect, but Canada is the best country on earth. There's nowhere else that I and our 41 million strong family would rather be, and we will get through this challenge, just as we've done countless times before.
And that wraps up today's speech analysis. If you have any other speakers you would like me to analyze and break down, please suggest them in the comments below. If you like this type of content, you should subscribe, and see you in the next one.